Well, hello everyone. We have a really good topic today. Let me just read it here. Normal symptoms after a high quality session with the unseen therapist. What most people expect is, well, I've got this healing thing. Good, I'm free. Great, no more of that. But often other symptoms show up and they are normal. We're going to talk about that. And with me to help me do that is Gabrielle Rutan, MD. So say hello, Gabrielle.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. Gabrielle is not only an MD, she's a director of of the Gary Craig official EFT training center in the Dutch language. And and she has a lot of wisdom on this topic in particular. And so we're going to get right into it. So, Gabrielle, a client of yours or of mine or a student, of our optimal EFT course gets a really good healing, some disease, some other set of symptoms or something like that. Wow, it got a lot better or it just vanished or something like that. And then they have headaches or they have a backache or other symptoms you can mention. What's really going on there?
Yes, let's dive into that because if you do a high quality session, during the session you go through stress because you want to, be specific, go through stuff, and as soon as the stress phase is done, another phase starts, which is the healing phase. Now, the stress phase is organized by your sympathetic stress reaction. Everybody probably has heard of this one. The other one, the counterpart to it, is the parasympathetic relaxation response. Why do I name them both? Because they need to be in balance. If you've gone through a lot of stress, afterwards you go through the relaxation response to balance out again, to regroup. The body needs to recover from whatever stress was going on. And so, and some of these symptoms everybody recognizes because during your session you might start yawning, you might have little watery eyes, not crying or anything, but just watery eyes or more um, fluids and all that. That is this parasympathetic stress response. Now that continues after the session, and typical symptoms after you have resolved a lot of stress is, first of all and foremost, fatigue, like really tired, like really increased need for sleep.
Yeah, I let me interject. I see that
Mhm.
with great frequency, and it's reported with great frequency. It's like we're going through this session, we're bringing up other stuff, and it's this is not too comfortable stuff, and it takes a lot more energy than people think. And when they're done, it's kind of like a wow, I mean, let me go lie down, let me go sleep or something. But you're also
Yes.
talking about, I think, fatigue that might last more than 30 minutes or take a nap kind of thing. You're talking about fatigue that might last a day or
A
two or
couple,
three or
yeah,
something.
yeah, a couple of days. It might be just like a couple of hours, but if you've gone like through like a really severe, stressful package of events, so to speak, it might, you might be severely fatigued for a day or three, four.
Yeah.
So fatigue, and then headaches. Quite often headaches are mentioned. Not everybody. It's so I'm not trying to say that if you don't have these symptoms that you haven't worked hard enough, because not everybody has these symptoms, but they're frequently encountered. So fatigue, headaches, in fact, any kind of inflammation, anything with fever really points to you're in the healing phase after stress. People are not used to looking at symptoms like that, because as soon as there's fever they identify this as the problem and think, now I have a problem, I have fever, I have inflammation or whatever, I need to tackle this. Most often you don't, because a fever will only arise after you've gone through stress. And so after EFT, after working with the unseen therapist, at least fatigue and headaches and tiredness and really, really increased need for sleep is general symptoms. And then there's a bunch of symptoms that are a little bit more specific. Why? Because of what organ or symptom was involved in whatever you were working on.
Well,
For example, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to give an example of what you just said, a specific kind of thing. I was dealing with another MD, a student of ours, for our optimal EFT course. And by the way, there's some essential links below this video. It points you to our advanced course. It points you to my free ebook, The Unseen Therapist, and as well as a newsletter and so on. But this one lady was having leaky gut syndrome, and from a simplicity point of view, and at least this is my understanding, is that her intestinal walls become porous or weak or get holes in them or something like that, and the intestinal contents tend to leak out and into the system, and that's just begging for all kinds of symptoms you don't want. Okay, so anyway, she was having that. And as I recall it, we never aimed at her various symptoms. We might have done a little bit of that, but mostly there were some emotional issues involved. It was surrounding issues with her son and so on. The leaky gut symptoms vanished. I think it took us 3 sessions, or I think after the 3rd session, they were pretty much gone. Sessions being 1 or 2 days apart. But she points out to me, she had, as a result, right after that, severe diarrhea. I mean, once an hour, twice an hour, off to the toilet we go. And she was wondering if that isn't, some kind of a negative symptom. But you and I talked about it, and no, that's an expected healing response. So talk about that some, could you?
Yes. So again, the body goes through these programs and has to recover from stress. And so if she had a problem in her gut, and a typical healing symptom of the gut is diarrhea. So as soon as whatever the underlying emotional issue was is resolved, a typical reaction may include diarrhea. And in her case, it did, which just indicates that something really got shifted there as far as the underlying root cause is concerned.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And again, that doesn't mean that everybody is going to have diarrhea or some other kind of symptom. It is saying if you do have a symptom like that, don't panic immediately.
Exactly.
It's probably a healing response. Now, another question then comes up, and this would be from the non-MD, which is just about everybody listening in. Okay. Well, how am I going to know if these symptoms I may get after a quality healing with Unseen Therapist are a healing response, or indeed some other symptoms from some other ailment? How am I going to know that?
The most important thing is to realize that even though conventional medicine sort of completely focuses on the diarrhea, on fever, on headaches, backaches, stuff like that.
The symptoms.
Yeah. They really are part and parcel of the healing phase. What do I mean by that? Again, after you've gone through a stress period and you resolve this with EFT, or you go through some really severe traumatic experiences in your session, that's the same thing. You go through them on purpose, so to speak. After that, the body needs to rebalance with a parasympathetic relaxation response. And again, so fatigue, fevers, headaches are all part of the healing phase, but so is diarrhea. And most bodily symptoms belong to the healing phase. Why? Because in the stress phase, the body is ready to fight and flight, that you need to, there's action is needed. So in the stress phase, you normally experience very few symptoms. You're just, geared up to fight or flight or freeze if that is necessary, but stuff needs to be done. So the symptoms happen in the relaxation phase, in the healing phase.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this, Gabrielle. So I have a whole bunch of symptoms that I get worried about. Okay. And I go to a doctor, and the doctor says, "Oh, we think you have," I'm going to make this up, okay, Parkinson's disease. I've got fatigue, I've got some shakiness, I've got whatever. And so he gives us a label of Parkinson's disease. Now, I may have picked out a good example or not, I don't know. But
you did.
But behind all this is a question. Parkinson's disease has a lot of symptoms. That's the doctor asks you about him, and he looks in his list of symptoms and what that means in Parkinson's. Okay. So those symptoms, those are healing responses?
Yep. Yes. So here now it gets a little complicated, and it's probably quite a big subject for a short video. But if you look at this, because you always need to look at the symptoms, but the symptoms of Parkinson's, fatigue is a healing symptom. The tremors, the shaking, is a healing symptom of what we call a motor conflict. And those are conflicts where you feel stuck in a situation, where you feel you can't move, either literally or figuratively speaking. So Parkinson's is an example of, if you really look at your life and you want to find the underlying emotional root causes, you need to look at, in what kinds of situations do I really feel stuck, be that a relationship, work, whatever it is, a disease, whatever is the case. And the sentiment, the feeling is, I'm really stuck. I can't get out of this.
Yeah. Now, this is just to emphasize a point. This is why with our optimal EFT and EFT properly done, we're not typically not aiming at the symptom. We are exploring. We're looking at what's really behind this. Oh, I'm stuck, and so on. What's behind the tremors and the fatigue and the what emotional issues? What specific events? And that's what we aim at. And once we've aimed properly, these symptoms then start to disappear because we're aiming at their cause. Now, I hope I said that right.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what, the main focus in EFT is looking at what are the emotional root causes of my problem. And the symptoms just point to, what area is the problem in. And then just to repeat, and there's symptoms that point that you've resolved stress, fatigue, headaches, little inflammation, a backache, stuff like that means that you've resolved the stress.
Okay. All right, good. As you were talking about, Parkinson could be a much longer video, et cetera, but we get the highlights down, and we got the main point across, that these symptoms one may get are not to be panicked about typically.
No,
they are to be, although they're not guaranteed to show up either, but when they do show up, they should be considered normal. I guess you would say, if they're just keep going on and on and on and on, well, maybe we should look at those. Did I say that right?
Yes, because then most often there's fear involved, because you think there's something seriously wrong, or the information you get keeps the program going, and then the symptoms become chronic, or at least keep on going. So then you need to use EFT and work with unseen therapists to get the fear out of the way and any limiting belief you have. So this is all pointed out in the lessons, and this is what we discuss in the webinars, because there's a whole, way of approaching that. But if a symptom lasts longer than, say, a week or two, then you need to work on the symptoms themselves and your fears and whatever else is playing a role. Correct.
Sure. Okay. Gabrielle, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's
Thank you.
very, very helpful. I hope our listening audience got all that we were trying to say. So we're going to sign off for now. We will see you next